There's a change in the gaming world as of late. We've been getting these games that you can play multiplayer with people on other platforms. It's awesome. Instead of having three-ish player bases with a third-ish of the player base each, you get one big community for everyone. What's not to like about this? Why would you not want cross-platform multiplayer? In truth, there is nothing bad about cross-platform multiplayer. Only good can come from it. Now, let's say I want to play a game on PC. All my friends have a PS4. I want to play with them. Chances are I'll end up getting a PS4 in that case. With cross-platform multiplayer, it wouldn't matter. I'd be playing on my PC, my friends would be playing on their PS4, we'd be playing together. It's awesome. Contrary to popular belief, cross-platform gaming is not a new thing. My first experience with it is when I played Portal 2 co-op mode with my friend Bob. I had the game on PS3 and he had it on PC. When I started up the game, I just needed to sign into my Steam account on my PS3. I added Bob as a friend and he showed up. Portal 2 on PS3 works through the Steam servers for the multiplayer. It was great. I didn't have a PC at the time that would be able to run it, and we wanted to play co-op together, and we could. What's not to like? In the last few years, cross-platform multiplayer games have becoming more and more common. They're the ones like Portal 2, where you can join your friends regardless of the platform they're playing on, and play with them. Another big example of this is Final Fantasy XIV. Now, the more common route is where matchmaking can pair you with people on other platforms, like in Rocket League, but there isn't a way to party up with someone on another platform. The problem with this is that it limits your interactions with people on other platforms. So a friend of mine, it's actually Bob again, has Rocket League on PS4, I have it on PC. We haven't been able to play together. The only way we could do this is if by chance we get matched together during matchmaking. There's no way for us to actually party up together. Yeah, it's possible, like in Portal 2 or Final Fantasy XIV, but it requires the game to have its own party server set up. So since there's no way for Steam, Uplay, Origin, Battle.net, GOG to directly communicate with PSN or Xbox Live to form a party together, so the game would need to do this on its own. This is done in Final Fantasy XIV, Portal 2, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's also the case in Street Fighter V. Most games don't have this, even if they have the cross-platform multiplayer, like Rocket League, since it's a really, really huge endeavor. It's a lot bigger than you'd think. It's a lot more work on the devs, and it's really expensive. So smaller studios like Psyonix just can't quite afford to do it, which is too bad since, like I've been saying, cross-platform multiplayer is awesome. Being able to play with your friends regardless of the platform has not a single downside, right? Well, there's one in particular. In almost every single game, one platform has a significant advantage over the others. And this is mostly on the PC. So if you're playing on PC in a shooter, you're going to win the vast majority of the time. Objectively, it's easier, faster, and more accurate to use a mouse to aim than a controller. So this means on PC you would have a huge advantage in these kind of games. So one way to solve this is how it's done in Gears of War 4. Cross-platform play between the Xbox One and PC is only available in co-op. This means the advantage that the PC players have would actually help those on Xbox One. There are also two other solutions for competitive play that I haven't actually seen implemented, but I think would be a great way to solve it. So first, you could have PC players able to play with console players if they're using a controller, or you could have console players and PC players playing together if the console players are using a mouse and keyboard. So this means that the advantage from controls wouldn't exist since everyone would be using the same control scheme. Now, the advantages for the PC don't stop at the controls, but also how well the game runs. For example, someone who's playing a game that runs at 60 frames per second has an advantage over someone who runs the same game at 30 frames per second. So, how can we solve this? Well, the only way is to have the games run at the same frame rate, regardless of platform. When Sony announced the PlayStation 4 Pro, they made it clear you'd be able to play the same games as the PS4 at higher resolutions and higher frame rates. They also said that in multiplayer games, you would be locked down to the lower frame rates of the original PS4, as to not allow any advantage. This is a fair way of doing this, but in my opinion, not a good way. Because not everyone wants to play a game at 30 frames per second, especially if you're a PC gamer. Personally, I would prefer lower graphical fidelity and higher frame rates. It just looks and feels better to me. So then we'd need consoles to push out higher frame rates. This can be done. They can run games at 60 frames per second. The games just need to have lower graphical fidelity and better optimization in some cases. It's just not done much because people want prettier games. So we need to find a balance there in order to improve cross-platform multiplayer. I believe that cross-platform multiplayer will be implemented in almost every game in the near future. Even though it's been around for quite some time, it's still in its infancy. People aren't quite sure how to best implement it, and I don't think that we'll see widespread implementation until we have a system that can run this on all platforms with ease. We also need to have a way to remove the advantages and disadvantages that the different platforms have. I do believe that we'll get there. Even the PS4 Pro has gotten us closer, and I'm sure the Scorpio will too, but we just aren't quite there yet.